we have the KeyPress event set up and move across the text boxes when enter key is pressed. So all that is left to do now is to set up the zip code text box to accept only numbers. So right after the switch statement, we once again check if the sender of the event was zip code text box. And if it was, we will validate the input for it. So after the if statement here, we will do another if statement, and like I said, we'll check if the text box sender equals the zip text, or txt zip, sorry, txt zip. And if that's the case, we will check if it contains only numbers. And to do that, we will check the value of the key char and check if the character value of it is between 0 and 9. If we go over here and I'll hover over the key char over here, you can see that it's a character and it gets or sets the character corresponding to the key press. So if it's between 0 and 9, then we know it's a number, and everything else obviously is not. Now before, we used to check it whether it was a enter key pressed. If I hover over the 13 here, you can see that it represents a 32-bit signed integer. It's not a character. In this case, the value was implicitly converted to integer. We could have also just converted it explicitly by using integer cast like this, but in this case it's not really needed. You can see that the cast is redundant. But now we can also use it as a character, like I said, to see if the character is the value between 0 and 9, which obviously are the only values that any number can have. So we'll do an if the e.keychar is greater or equal to character 0 and the e.keychar is less or equal to 9, then we have a number. But now there's actually one more key that I want to allow in this text box, and that's a backspace. If the user makes a mistake and presses backspace, it should delete the character and work as expected. So I will also add a key char of 8 to the if statement. The value of 8 is going to be an integer, just like number 13 was for the enter key. The number 8, or the value of 8, is the backspace key. So I'll wrap this whole thing in another parenthesis, because I'm going to use an OR statement. So if this is true, or the e.keychar equals the integer 8, again, if I hover over it, you can see that it's a signed integer, not a character anymore. This is a character, because now we are checking for the character 0 through 9, and in this case we are again assigning an actual value for the keyboard key. So if this is all true, if it's a number or a backspace, then it's a valid input. So what do we need to do here? Well, we actually don't need to do anything. We just have to accept the input. And to code that, we will use another property of the key char, and that is handled. So I will do e.handled, and you can see that it gets or sets the value indicating whether the control key press event was handled. And in this case, there's nothing to handle, so we can do false. Otherwise, here we can do e.handled equals to true. If the input is invalid, if the user tries to enter either non-numeric value or the backspace for any other key, it will not allow it. We will handle it. Basically, it will block the user from being able to enter anything other than number or the backspace. So let's test it. Control F5. So let's do the text for the city state, And now the zip, I'll try to add some letters or maybe plus, but it doesn't work, so let's do numbers, and they work. And if I press backspace, you can see that it deletes it. And again, the letters don't work, only numbers. And here is the input. So it runs as expected, and this is really all for our simple data entry application. But before we wrap it up, let's just have a closer look and explore a few things behind the hood of WinForms.